Right. I think we are on the YouTube now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lunar Reason with Christine Skinner. I'm overjoyed. I'm so happy to see Christine again. Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm really good, and I just want to know all about your eclipse stories, and then I can tell you mine.
Okay. Well, I have a fantastic solar eclipse experience because this is my first time to see the total solar
Yeah,
eclipse. To be honest, as I'm a fanatic, astrophotography and astronomy
yeah.
fans. So this is a big dream, and really I planned this things years ago, and everything kind of, there's always when you plan something, you always have to adjust,
Yeah,
especially with astronomy event. Somewhere you can see it, somewhere you couldn't see it.
yeah.
On the day, remember I post a lot on Facebook is about the weather. You won't believe that on the solar eclipse day, there is a stream of the cloud, thick stream of cloud, kind of across the total solar eclipse belt.
Wow.
You won't believe it. From Texas across Kansas and go through nearly mid part of the United States, and that is just in the beginning, people always think about me, in the east or northeast, maybe cloudy or something. That weather was perfect for them, and we spend a lot of money. Everyone go to Texas. We are worried about the cloud. Even me and my friend Julio, we was like planning to drive 180 miles to go to Arkansas if necessary.
Yeah, okay.
So
So,
that's intense.
Rod, where was the eclipse in your chart?
Is in the 10th house. Is at 10th house and kind of very close to my Chiron, and I have Chiron return this year. So
So this is big for you. Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't normally talk about personal things, but this I feel I have to relate.
please.
So the thing was exactly opposing my Neptune, which
Oh,
obviously is going to affect, all the people born around the same time as me. So I have to say that I was not particularly focused on it. I wasn't
mm,
going to be underneath it either. I was going to be in Cyprus. Right. In fact, it was a day off, right? So I wasn't
mhm.
expecting, and the whole point is I wasn't expecting anything. I also have been through enough eclipses now to know that sometimes it's when the event is triggered by Mars or 90 degrees later, that you get
Yeah.
the effect. So bottom line is I was not expecting anything, right?
Hmm.
I was having a holiday. I was having a day out.
Yeah.
My Neptune is in the sixth house. Right? So, yes, I suppose I could have been, if I had been giving it any thought, I might have thought about health issues,
Hmm.
possible, right?
Yeah.
I might have thought about spiritual things, possible, especially given, Michael's recent passing and what have you. I
Yes.
was completely blindsided by what happened, but it's funny. Right? So I tell you this. So I ended up walking with my 14-year-old grandson, who was born on my second Saturn return, almost to the button.
Mm,
So he too has a Sun Saturn conjunction Libra, like me.
mm,
So he was asking me some financial questions because he's just beginning to get interested in investing and how do you do it and blah, blah, blah. So it was a pleasant conversation. So he then asked me how I made money. Now, most of you know how I do it, my
yeah.
consulting and what have you. But, at 14, he was slightly intrigued. So I was wondering how to answer the question. And I answered it kind of obliquely because I was actually thinking about my Turkish coffee that was waiting for me. I wasn't clever. So anyway, I explained what I did, at which point he said, I don't think that's a very good business model. At which point I thought, I'm going to fall off the. I mean, what did you say? Anyway, anyway, I was really. You what? So then he said, I think you should do it differently. I think you should do, and he outlined something, and I said, oh, well, yeah, that sounds really interesting. It's just that we'd need experts in this, that, and the next thing to do it, right? Anyway, it started to rain, and we got a bus together. So by this time we were with his father, who is a quant, a real computer boffin. So he's actually telling his dad about this idea. Well, I couldn't believe it. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Cyprus time, my whole business was so different, Rod, right? The whole model was different. So remember, they are not astrologers. The key to what I'm going to tell you next is they know diddly squat about this stuff. Nothing. But they're both of them really into planning, right? So they have to, I say, well, look, this is very good, but Ira, you would have to be project manager. He said, well, I can't do it until half term. Okay. So he says, the next day I can give, this is a 14-year-old.
Yes.
Next time I can give a full attention is May the 25th, when you and I know that Mars will be on eclipse degree, right? So I just think, wow, that's okay, right? That's quite funny. At which point his dad says, yeah, I don't know that we'd get everything done in that time. I think we should look at the middle of July, which of course is when the sun will be at 90 degrees from it.
Yes.
And I just thought, this is extraordinary, because this was so unplanned conversation with people who know nothing about this. And here it was. So it was just a very it's really made me rethink, because I think had I been dealing with a client, I might have glossed over the Neptune thing because it affects too many people. But actually what they were talking about was a very Neptunian thing. It was all about marketing. It's all about distribution. It was, it's all the things you do all the time, but I don't. So it was a great eclipse experience anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes eclipse, especially solar eclipse, help us to review, to realign, because the moon passing over, so it covered it over, but we see it again. And that is a connection.
And I think also, the other thing you and I should discuss really is the fact that the sun's behavior is so peculiar. It's like, really? What are you doing up
very
there?
active, super active.
Well, it shouldn't be, because we're in the middle of what they call cycle 24 of these solar cycles, and which, if you go back to 2017, 2018, they were saying that cycle 24 was going to be a quiet one.
Yes.
How wrong can you be?
I remember that.
Yeah. And how wrong could this be? It hit over 230 sunspots the other day. It's throwing out solar flares like you wouldn't believe. And there's another CME supposed to hit us this weekend.
Yes.
It's behaving completely abnormally. And that's been making me think about why. I don't know if you've given this any thought.
Why? Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert about the solar sports.
well, neither am I. I want to be quite clear, but why has it behaved so abnormally? It's been out of order. Well, it's been actually out of order for a couple of cycles. It hasn't done exactly what anybody thought. But absolutely, since 2020, it's been wonky. Now, what happened when we were having COVID and we were all obsessed with that is that, had you been standing on the sun, all the planets were on one side, and including big fatso Jupiter, right?
Yeah.
So it was a kind of lopsided solar system. And I don't know, because I'm not a solar physicist, but it could be that, that all of that junk, if you like, all of that over there, right, was pulling on the sun and causing it to behave differently. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
If you start adding in the dwarf planets on top of that, then, there is really something huge going on. So, and that had me, I used to write about this a lot, and I haven't been doing it so much, but this whole thing about, I think it was the Mark Jones version of, looking at the planetary pictures.
Oh, yes.
We've had for so long now, we've had months and months when we've either been living in a bowl, which we were during COVID, we were all inside the bowl. And every so often we came out because the moon became the handle of the bucket, and we thought we could get out for a bit, but then it again, so I'm just wondering whether or not this solar activity is actually to do with the planet distribution. Right? But another possibility, and just as strong, is that where we're traveling inside the solar system, right,
Yes.
is that we're going past a heavy duty, well, they're all heavy duty black holes, aren't they, right? But
Yes.
through a big one, and it could be that that's having impact on the sun. It's certainly in my work. I mean, I was fascinated to learn and to back test and see that this really does work. The NASDAQ comes off about 3% in the
Mm-hmm.
days after every intense solar activity.
Ah,
It falls over, right? Now
yeah.
it's not true of every index, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to think about what comprises the NASDAQ index, but
Mm.
there is a marked reaction. There's also a marked reaction with the cryptos, right?
Yes.
When the solar flares are high, right,
Mm-hmm.
the activity goes high, and you
Yeah.
get what, right, and you get a sudden leap, which has got, we can sit there and say it's because the moon was doing this, that, and the next thing, but
Yeah.
actually it relates to this solar activity. Just really, so Frank, I mean, I know I've been asking for this forever, it seems. I wish that all our astro programs would
Mm.
tell you what the sun was doing on the day you were born
Oh,
and what it was doing like yesterday, so that you
yeah.
could see, were you born on a minima, were you born on a maxima, what suits you best?
Yeah.
Do you overreact on, I just, I sit there with, if anybody's interested, you can get this information from Planetary Phenomena,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
book. And it's interesting to look to see, were you born on a quiet day? Were you on a
Mm.
busy day? And now, of
Mm.
course, we don't know when maxima is going to be reached. It was, if minima was 2020,
Mm.
maxima should be 2025 and a bit-ish,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But are we having it early because that number the other day was off the scale? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So is this going to be a short cycle? Nobody knows, right?
Nobody knows. Oh.
But we do know that markets go up as
Yeah.
the sun gets busy. Most markets want to go up when the level is down, as it was, like 2009 and
Yeah.
20. Then you get the lows. So yes, I wish we did more on this. Ona Dosa is the guy to talk to.
Wow. Really, wow, that really need to have a chat with him soon. Yes, this I did notice since I heard about you talk about the solar activity. I keep an eye on it, and I really enjoy taking the photo, including the sun solar spot photo. So every time when I see something like that, I will just like get my telescope out quickly if weather permit. I want to do it, and also keep an eye on the market. Yes, I did get this flavor and the sense about solar activity has impact on market, and that was I'm still learning, I'm still observing. It's so interesting.
It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's also exasperating because we just don't know enough about what it's going to do. So, from a forecasting point of view, we've still got an awful lot of holes to fill in. But
Yeah.
no, it's fascinating. And I do wonder whether or not that high level of activity this week was yet another of the factors, because this week we've had all the student demonstrations,
Indeed.
and it's coming here as well, so
Yes.
is that, and presumably this is going to go across the world now.
Mm.
And yes, I think it's part of the Jupiter Uranus thing. And
Mm.
incidentally, I saw something quite interesting. Somebody made reference to the student protests at the end of that really precipitated the end of the Vietnam War, right?
Oh yes.
So I went back to have a look at the chart. March the 6th, 1969.
Hmm.
And I went back to look at that chart, and that one too has a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise, you've got a
Yeah.
lot of people with a political view. But importantly, Chiron was on 0 Aries. Right. So this week, it's been Mars's turn to be on the world axis, but
Yes.
it's kind of so maybe it's not quite the same. But the flavor, there seems to be something about that. Well, as we know, the world axis, it's
Hmm.
usually an eventful thing, but this one seems to be really wild.
I agree. You just remind me one thing. Why were you talking about the Chiron on the zero Aries, and also at this moment we have a Mars on the zero Aries, because I think also it related to the declination. Because if it's in the zero Aries, it will cross the 0 degree declination, and
Yeah.
I remember you talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really, really powerful, this. And of course, Mars has actually moved off it now. And,
Yes.
it's moving away. But I think it's today or yesterday, last night, whatever, it was on the Sun-Uranus midpoint. And we've had, I don't know where your listeners are, but of course, we've had elections in this last
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yes.
Sun Uranus, is a very big signal for political things. So, and
Mm.
Mars acting on that, I think the results will be very different to what people expected, because
Hmm.
the anticipation was it would be a landslide in one direction, and it's
Yeah.
not actually quite what they had
Hmm.
imagined.
Yeah.
Equally, I thought it was very interesting that Rishi Sunak, our Prime Minister,
Mm.
had apparently called in the heads of the universities for a meeting, because he's anticipating that the protests that are happening in the States will
Yeah.
happen here this week.
Yeah.
No,
Also, I think that is kind of I mean this election. Yeah, I agree because we are expecting, yes, because Tory is doing so bad, but I think they still kind of okay. Even he just say, oh, it's disappointing, but yeah, I agree.
but the other thing I looked at, I went, you need to check up on this, because I was trying to do this from memory, but I
Yeah.
think I remember that if you do the geodetic chart for this
Hmm.
week solar eclipse,
Yeah.
it had Chiron on the midheaven through like Columbia University. Right.
Oh dear.
Right. I'm pretty certain it's worth checking up on that. And
Yeah.
Mars of that chart is just slightly off. Well, obviously, right down the middle of the states, but it's slightly off Houston. But there are many universities along that line as well. So you can see where the aggression was.
Hmm.
Um, when I redid it for here to see what might happen here, I was noticing Mars is on the descendant closer towards Bristol. So
Uh-huh.
and it's Bristol and Birmingham. So it will be interesting to see if there are developments in our universities this week. It will be I wonder which ones will hit the news.
Yeah. Wow. That is such a. I think you mentioned about the Jupiter Uranus conjunction. I mean, it does has a related to this because you mentioned about 1969,
Yeah.
and at this moment we just experienced that even is after conjunction. Conjunction is not just one day. I think it's a
No,
whole
no, no.
cycle.
It's a whole cycle. And the other interesting thing is, because of course I'd recently done this lecture about space. I was talking about developments, for investment point of view. I was looking at space companies, and
Hmm.
I was talking about Jupiter Uranus throughout the 20th century. Whenever they've met, there's been developments in space travel. So the 1969 one was man standing on the moon, if he did, but certainly, that's when the focus was. So what happened this week? The Chinese are apparently going to stand on the other side of the moon, the bit that nobody gets to see. And they're
Yeah.
going to bring their plan is to bring a chunk back. Now I'm really interested in this, because I was looking at the chart for the International Space Treaty, right?
Hmm.
Which is not worth the paper that it was written on. It's an absolute rubbish chart, this one, because it's got a Mercury-Mars conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius. So, and you and I know that's been
Yeah.
Plutoed right good and proper.
Yeah.
Because that space treaty said that everything that was in space was for the benefit of mankind, not for one particular country. But if
Mm.
the Chinese or the Americans or the South Africans or whoever goes up there and brings a chunk back, who does it belong to? Right?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that whatever they find is for the benefit of the whole of humanity? Or does China say, well, actually, this bit of the moon is ours, right? We mind it, it's ours,
Yeah.
right? We put the money there, that belongs to us. So what happens then if, I don't know, the Australians or somebody get up there, right, and say, well, actually, we'd like to, can we walk through that bit? Is there going to be a territory? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think all of
Yeah.
this stuff is now, I think part of this next Jupiter-Uranus cycle, right,
Mm-hmm.
having begun in Taurus, is also going to be about the politics of geography.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
a title
And
for a book, actually.
yeah.
That's yeah.
And also remind me a major keyword or theme of Taurus, the ownership, the belonging.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because when we had the last Jupiter-Uranus thing, which was in Taurus in the 1940s, we
Hmm.
weren't going up there then. We
No.
weren't. It's now the world is so very different. But you're absolutely right. Who owns what? And did you
Yeah.
know? I didn't know this. There isn't even an agreement about where space starts. Did you know that?
I don't know.
It's absolutely incredible. There are two agencies involved. One of them says it starts 80 kilometers above the atmosphere, and the other one 100. So there's a whole band that is under what jurisdiction, right?
Oh,
So if, God forbid, there's two man-made, man-carrying satellites up there, and one is deliberately crashed into the other. How do we sort out the legalities of this? This is like
yeah.
the holes. I mean, this is more than Swiss cheese. This is absolutely, it's absolutely incredible. I think this is where we're going to have to do a lot of work. I,
Oh,
I was
yes.
I was fascinated this week that I had a client that was asking me to look at a new crypto,
Uh-huh.
which is that's a run-of-the-mill job really now. That's not no longer too exciting. But I was thinking that's the wrong thing to be looking at. We need to actually to be looking at when the next satellite's going up, who's going up with it, what Elon Musk is doing. I felt I was on the wrong job.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It was interesting my reaction that I
Yeah.
immediately felt repelled by one thing and pulled
Mm-hmm.
towards something else.
I think they both maybe both a bit related. It remind me at this moment Pluto is just stationary and ready to get retrograde, and all the things you talk about is also like who own the moon and who we're going
Yeah,
to fight the resource on the moon. I think one day we're really going to have a negotiation agreement
yeah,
or any maybe a fight over who own the moon, who own which part of the moon, and that is a pretty scary. And I remember you mentioned about this when we talked about the Pluto in Aquarius, the things in the space, the terror or
yeah,
things
yeah.
coming from space.
Well, yeah, and something else on this. I've been doing some work because I had to do some work on gold, and it's not uncommon for the price of gold to alter direction as Pluto stations it. So you get recently we've been getting a top as
Mm,
Pluto goes into the first station of the year. But
yeah,
that's understandable because we've also had Jupiter in Taurus. So people,
yeah,
like I want it, like it's a grab, right?
yeah.
I've also been thinking we've just learnt how to grab bits of asteroids and meteorites. We're just learning how to do that in space. What happens if one of them is actually solid gold? Mm, yeah, I mean, I know it's far-fetched, and it's a ludicrous thing to say, really, but the whole thing about gold is it's scarce. But what happens if it's not? Right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, and I wonder about Pluto going into Aquarius if we're going to have some kind of reevaluation of the precious metals, if you like.
Mm, mm,
And these, it will be fascinating to see in 20 years' time how
yeah.
this is all changed.
Exactly, exactly. Well, it's so nice to chat to you and always inspiring. And we can continue to chat like this all day. But could you tell us do you have any recent plan, any talk or any course running at this
Oh
moment?
my God, Rod, that was slightly below the wet belt. But yes, I am really excited about this actually. Finally, I got the introduction to financial astrology finished.
Ooh,
That's now for sale. It went off to the first people who'd booked for it last week, and the feedback has been absolutely tremendous. So if
lovely.
anybody's interested, they can email me, and then I can explain about that. The 6-week course, I think, I think we are on target to launch at the beginning of June, right? So
Okay.
just as Jupiter goes into Gemini, and well, I think I
Yeah.
think I think we're on course. All the editing is being done. It's all
Cool.
but the people at Optuma who provide the software for me, this is the financial software. I
Yes.
have to get them to go through every single one of my back testing things. And that's very funny because on the way, I was asking them to look at some trades that were to do with Mercury at maximum elongation.
Ooh.
And the guy said to me, I don't know what that is. So I said, yes, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Of course you do, right? He said, how come you always manage to come up with something that we haven't pre-programmed yet? Like, okay. But actually, do you know what? That's one of the oldest trades in the book, right? Because that goes back to Mesopotamian times
Yes.
when Mercury was over, could be seen in the west. They
Yeah.
had a different view to when it was maximum at the east, and
Yes.
it's all to do with crops and that. So yes, it's all very exciting working on
So
that.
cool. So
So I think
cool.
2024 is going to be the year of this launch. But I'm also I've just been asked, I'm going to speak at the AA conference, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet.
We know we're waiting for you.
I know where I know, and I can't quite get my head around that. But I've also been asked to speak at the big vibrational conference, the harmonics one, next year. I'm going to do a workshop there, so that's really exciting.
Cool.
So yes, I've got to do the thing for the AA today.
Yeah. So it's
Otherwise,
getting busy.
otherwise I can't face Wendy again.
I have to use this opportunity to encourage everyone come to see Christine and come to join
And
us in
you,
Birmingham. Yeah,
and
I will give a
yeah,
quick talk. Yeah, I will give a
yeah.
small
What
talk.
what are
Yeah.
you going to talk about?
If I remember correctly, I think I'm going to talk about a stationary planet.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for
because
that, because that means I won't talk about that one, right? So I really need to get a list of what
no, I
everybody
can
is
change the
doing.
topic. I can
No,
negotiate
no,
with
no, no, no,
Wendy.
no, 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 no. But
Could I ask you one
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
What does the conference mean for you? Because I want to encourage everyone join us. Last year we have enough people, but we still need more people to join us. And at this moment, some I think the Wade can post today 20 astrology event today is overwhelmed. I know it is overwhelmed, but the opportunity like this conference to gathering together, to see each other, to hanging out, to chat is very rare. So what does the conference mean for you? Should we why should other people should come to Birmingham to join us this year?
I think we need to be together.
Mm,
Absolutely. I think we're zoomed out. For a start, I
mm,
think we're all zoomed out.
mm.
I also think that there is a physical thing. I'm not talking about sleeping with one another, please. I'm not talking about that, right? But
No, we don't.
I think the fact that you are actually with your tribe
Mm,
for 72 hours, I think that has a physical effect on the body, on your heartstrings. If part of your heartstrings is that
mm.
you love astrology, getting
Yes.
getting an extra boost, right? I think it's a really valuable thing. I actually think that the most important part of a conference is not going to the talks. I mean, and that's the sad thing, because I know myself, I know how many hours you put in towards preparing the talks and whatever, but actually you get far, far more out of it having a coffee, right?
Yeah.
Or sitting down and eating with people. It's about being together.
Indeed.
So I would
Indeed.
say don't be overwhelmed by the fact that you can't choose which track to go on or whatever, because that's irrelevant. You just need to be sharing the same space with other people,
Yes.
and and listening to ideas. And if sorry, this I'm going to be a bit political here myself now, right? But
Go on.
um, I I am becoming increasingly aware of the fact that I don't think the quality of our stuff is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to up our game.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what other people in other countries are doing, we've
Mm-hmm.
stayed behind. We spent too long on certain elements or tracks and not
Mm-hmm.
enough on moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're only going to move forward if we're all together. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Definitely. Let me introduce a bit because this conference, well, although we know it starts on Friday, 30th of August and end on the 1st of September, but I remember on the 28th, we organized a trip to go to Space Museum in Birmingham, just nearby, So that would be fascinating on the Wednesday. So if you can come earlier on the Wednesday and stay, a little bit longer with us, and you will have a trip, we are going together to the Space Museum on 28th. So you know what?
Just hold on a minute. Don't we have? Is Uranus going to station around there? What stationing?
I think Mercury. Mercury was Mercury. Venus moving into Libra that day, and Mercury should be stationary that time. Let me quick check my calendar. I think so. You're right. You just remember. Oh, yes, indeed. No, you're right. Uranus was stationary around that during the conference. Oh my God.
Is that right? Yes, it is.
Indeed.
Uranus is right. Yes.
Yes, Mercury, both Mercury and Uranus would be stationary during that time.
Well, look, if you need an astro fix, it's the place to be. There's no question. That's what it is.
Yes. Oh my God, that is so funny. That's so interesting. So there is a huge discount at this moment. I'm totally doing a PR for the conference now. So there's a huge conference. Everyone go to if you are a member of Astrological Association, you already received the email. Book before 31st of May. Okay, book before 31st of May. If you are not a member, join us. Come up. Or if you are a member or the student of APAE school, if your school belongs to APAE, or if you are a member of a local group in the United Kingdom, we all provide a huge discount. For example, you stay 4 nights because you want to see the Space Museum. That would be 200 discount, discount of £200. So please come to join us. I know this is not my daytime job, but I really want to help our conference. I really want more people join us because it's such a fun event, and we're going to know each other. We're going to talk about astrology, and we're going to, connect with our tribe, like Christeen said.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Christeen. So nice to have you, and so nice to chat to you.
Well, that was a lovely May bank holiday chat, wasn't it?
Yes,
so I
indeed.
See you again next month.
Oh, definitely, yes.
By then, of course, Jupiter will be in Gemini.
That's one thing we are going to have to cover. Little bit discussion about it. That's true. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching today, and have a nice weekend. And don't forget Christeen's financial astrology course, and send us an email. I'll put the email here, so you can send a Christeen email there. Okay. See you next week. Bye.